Now,
the United Kingdom wants an explanation from Nigeria and the Nigerian government about the arrest of Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra. Kanu was arrested in June and extradited to Nigeria to face trial. The government hasn't revealed where Kanu was arrested, but his brother claims he was detained in Kenya and handed over to the Nigerian authorities. The government of Kenya has denied the allegation. Now, following his rearrest, he was taken to the Federal High Court in Abuja, where a judge granted the Department of State Services order to remand him in their custody until the 26th of July.
The Youth Party is a new generational political association made up of individuals and groups that seek to serve and unite Nigerians. That much is spelt out as a mission statement. And with 2 days to the local government elections, the party says there could be no better time for voters to begin to change the governance narrative in the state. For a quick chat around matters defining Lagos LG polls, politics, and socio-political realities of Nigeria in general, we're now being joined by Ayo Adio, National Publicity Secretary for the Youth Party. Good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm curious to know how you intend to change the narrative, but before we go into that, tell us a bit about the controversy that you and I were chatting about briefly before, why you seem to have had to go to court to get an injunction to participate in Saturday's election.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't have been a controversy anyway if simply INEC and LISEC simply obeyed the court orders that were served them essentially last month, where the Court of Appeal had ruled clearly that the Youth Party was free to participate in any elections across the country. Unfortunately...
Why was there the challenge in the first place?
Oh, because initially, INEC had gone to court at the time that they wanted to deregister political parties. Okay. And our party was relatively new. And so we went to court, preempting what INEC was going to do. And the court listened to our case and sided with us and cautioned INEC and restrained them from deregistering the party. That was Federal High Court in Abuja. Of course, for some reason, INEC decided to appeal what seemed like a clear judgment. And the Court of Appeal ruled again in a unanimous decision delivered by Justice T.Y. Hassan that the decision by INEC to want to proceed to deregister was null and void. And in fact, an interesting caveat was even put in the judgment where the judge found the actions of INEC completely reprehensible. And so with that judgment, it was clear that we're free to participate in any other elections. Unfortunately, for some reason again, they did not appeal the judgment, neither did they list our names on the website to participate in the Lagos polls. And so we went to court again in Lagos State, where thankfully Justice Aluko looked at the merits of the case and sided with the judgment of the appeal court and then placed an injunction that the elections in Lagos State will not hold without the participation of Youth Party. And I'm sure that LISEC, given that the GM of LISEC in Lagos was a former Chief Justice in Lagos State and one who respects the institution and wants to preserve the integrity of the judiciary, would respect the rule of law and allow us to participate.
So we look forward to having you.
Oh, of course.
Definitely,
we're going to be in the polls. We are ready to ride.
All right. The All Progressive Congress is quite dominant in Lagos State. Their footprint seems to be everywhere. How do you intend to change the tide? Do you have the numbers and the following to do that? At least at the local council development area.
Fantastic. And I tell you something interesting, because everywhere that the party has campaigned at, a lot of Nigerians, a lot of Lagosians were awakened to some sort of a fresh breath of hope. They are tired of the existing political parties. They are tired of the status quo. And they want some sense of some breath of fresh air. And for every place that we have gone to campaign, we've seen young people, in fact, shockingly, even more older people, throwing their weight of support behind the party, because clearly what we are promising is very simple. It's a commitment to the oath that we'll take once sworn into office, and the commitment to service delivery at the local level. And you can see that the intentions are clear. We have overly qualified candidates who are running for councillorship positions, which is, I mean, the lowest cadre of governance. We are not flirting around with governorships or presidential positions like many would like to do. We are committed to the growth and development of our communities, and that's why we have brilliant candidates running for councillorship.
Because it's one thing to campaign and see people really drum up support for you. It's another thing on the election day to see people come out, because there have been talks about intimidation, there have been talks about violence. Greeting some of these elections we've seen in Lagos, the turnout is usually not as high as what we see when it comes to involvement pre-elections.
Which is a sad thing. The average turnout in Lagos elections are usually below 12%. That's usually sad. But what we have done and what we're doing at the moment is not just campaigning, it's a voter education drive to ensure that people know that the problems that they face is not occasioned by their sins against God, by the poor people they elect into offices. And these are the people they should hold accountable. And if they want to see change, they have to do that over the ballot and try a different party that is committed to the values that they preach and is committed to the development of their communities. And with that, we're sure, of course, there are a lot of ground games that I would not like to divulge publicly, but there's a brilliant strategic ground game to ensure that a lot of people turn out to the polls to vote. And there's also a ground game to ensure that a lot of people who would come out will be secured and safe and not, be exposed to the usual violence that happens in some of the communities where these elections hold by desperate politicians who know that they are losing and have. And it's interesting to quickly point this out. In 3 of the 4 places that we're competing in, the councillorship candidates didn't even bother to paste a simple poster or to do a simple campaign, because in their minds it's a given that they are going to be elected. And the people that we've spoken to are upset by that audacity that, you just think that for some reason you're going to be anointed and rolling to office. And the Nigerian people watch this and they see value in young people knocking their doors, selling their programs to them, and putting themselves on the line, that you can hold me accountable if I fail on these promises that I am making the next 3 years, and you can hold us accountable for that. And that has sparked something exciting to see from the Nigerian people, and I'm sure that it will translate to votes on election day.
It's definitely intriguing that you feel you can offer that breath of fresh air. But you speak of holding our local officials accountable. How do you feel? Because some people's perspective is that part of why the local government is strangulated is that funds don't even get given to them.
Yeah.
How do you feel you change the narrative if you do get some of you say you have 4 candidates you're putting forward. If they get elected into those positions, how will they be able to effect their mandate, financially speaking?
To be honest, I can tell you for free that many times they would even get suspended because the reality is once you challenge the status quo, remember they are running for councillorship positions, which is like the legislative arm of the local government. And once you challenge the establishment, the frivolities that happen at our local governments, the lack of accountability, the lack of transparency, in fact, the brazen corruption that even happens at local level, you're bound to be suspended by the establishment. But one thing that we want to do, and it's important that we achieve this when we eventually get into office, is to show the Nigerian people that it is possible to elect decent people, people that will live up to the oath that they swear, and just make an example of what a public office holder should be like, and inspire more Nigerians to believe in the process, and so that they can continue to commit to the development of our country. At the moment, it's impossible for the Nigerian to imagine anybody at the local level who has some level of decency in the electioneering process. I mean, you ask a lot of people. I
just want to hear very briefly before we let you go, which areas are you fielding candidates in?
Okay, we're fielding in Ajao Estate, in Ikorodu, we're fielding in a ward in Alimosho, and then we're fielding one in Lekki.
All right, I want to say many thanks to you for your time here today, talking about Ayo Adio, National Publicity Secretary of the Youth Party.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on.